What is going on, everybody? Welcome into Alarm Fantasy Football. I'm Howard Bender. With me, of course, Andrew Cooper. And it's waiver wire week 9 already. Week 8 in the books. Rearview mirror. We'll recap a little bit of that. But the focus right now is obviously getting you guys and your roster all set and prepped for the rest of the season for a playoff run indeed. Coop, what's going on, brother? How are you? How'd week 8 finish up for you?
Honestly, incredible because it was just tight end fest, man. Touchdowns left and right. Everybody having a good time except Cole Kmet and Pat Frymuth. So, yeah, it worked out great, especially for my Scott Fishbowl team, which is just loaded with tight ends, and also Jalen Hurts, who scored 3 rushing touchdowns. So, went pretty good, I must say. And then today, of course, it's becoming more and more important that we break down the waiver articles into 3 different ones because we got some people that are trying to stay alive. We got some people that have absolute wagons, like my 8-0 team in the Beantown Brawl, that are stashing folks. So we're going to hit on all that today. What about you? How did your week 8 go before we get into all that?
I had a couple of people kind of sneak past me with the Giants Steelers game. I didn't think that they were going to end up. I guess some of it was also from the Dallas San Francisco game later on in the evening. Like Tim Jensen from RT Sports slid past me in the FSGA league, so I took a loss there. I posted it on Twitter already. I am the points leader, points for, and points against. I've had the most points scored against me. I've got the most points in the league. I'm 4-4 in that one. My Scott Fishbowl team, yeah, I got dragged at the end also with a loss. I mean, this week here, I would say in at least a dozen leagues or close to it. Maybe it was more like 10. Where I finished in the top 3 overall in points scored for the week and took a loss. So another reminder to everybody that points matter. Like whether you're, and when you're setting up a league, if you're a commissioner, set up your playoff structure like that. Don't be lazy and just use like the default settings over at ESPN that just goes strictly by record and doesn't have any consideration for points scored, because it's definitely something that makes a major difference. I'm a slight beneficiary right now in one of my FFPC leagues where I'm like tied for first with record, but I'm like 6th in points overall. So always make sure that you're finding some way, because when the schedule comes out, when the website randomizes the schedule, there's no rhyme or reason for it. There's no explanation for it. It is literally just a computer randomizing based on what number team it is, and it spits out a schedule for that. So because there's no rhyme or reason for it, it's completely random, and you get dragged during certain weeks where that ends up happening. So points matter, everybody. That's the point I want to make to start off.
It's fun you mentioned, because that league I mentioned, the Beantown Brawl League, where I am 8-0, I'm 8-0, and then Pete Rodoban is 5-2. Every other team in that league is either 4-4 or 3-4, 3-5. Like, it is insane, and it's going to come down to points. Every league I'm in, essentially every year, there's a group of teams that are 7-7 or 7 or 8-6, and points determine the end. So that it's crucial, and that's why fantasy is a weekly game. That's why we really don't focus as much on rest of season rankings. We focus on this week, the guys that can help you now and later, the guys that can help you just now, and then the third article, stashes, which is guys that can help you down the road. It's not super important to do rest of season rankings, and try and figure out, the guessing game of when Christian McCaffrey, when TJ Hawkins are going to come back. Like, those are just stashes. There's no reason to put them on a big list of players and say, here's where I rank TJ in week 2. Here's where I rank TJ Hawkinson in the event that maybe he comes back week 9 or whatever it is. It always seems like a silly practice to me, and something that might be throwing you off your game. So just focus on getting the wins now, getting the points now, and if you have bench spots at the end, stash a couple guys.
Yeah,
that's all.
There you go. All right. We've got the full article series for Waiver Wire over at fantasyalarm.com. Do yourselves a favor. Coop's got the articles for the must-adds, the streamers, and the stashes. Must-adds, that's free. Just head on over there to fantasyalarm.com. You're showing it right there. There you go. Pointing at it, the QR code right there. It's a 7-day free trial that we're still offering over at fantasyalarm.com. You might even be able to. Let's see. Let's test the waters on this one here, Coop. go to fantasyalarm.com/year and see if the promo code year still works. It was a flash sale that maybe or maybe not some tech representative at Fantasy Alarm forgot to turn off, because that's like a quick little scam deal that you can get. It's 50 off of the annual subscription, which basically puts your monthly cost at less than $20 a month for the full.
The first time I spelled fantasy wrong, and the second time I spelled alarm wrong, but the third time it worked. So it actually is. It does still come up. Fantasyalarm.com/year, and then it'll populate year in there and hit that little promo code. And if you see a green price, so again, if you're watching this after today, it might not.
Here we go. Try this. Zap this QR code right now. This one down here.
Yes. So if it shows up, if you're watching this after the fact, you'll know because it'll show up green and the price will be $50 cheaper than the normal price. And if you do it now, I mean, you get the rest of football season, you get our World Series best bets, and all the way through next baseball season, because obviously fantasy baseball goes all summer. You get all the way through the rest of basketball and hockey season, and you'll have the pre-draft rankings for basketball and hockey because you get the full year. So it really is
guides,
really the best time.
Cheat sheets, everything. Like if you get it for the full year here, I mean, we're in the end of October right now. So everything, like, everything from all sports across
NASCAR,
the way,
MMA, golf,
yours. So here you go. This QR code right now. Sneak it in if you can. Do yourself a favor and jump on in. In the meantime, Coop, let's say hi to everybody in the chat. Why don't we? Let's say hi to the chat, and then we'll get to some questions and answers and stuff like that. Mojo jumping in nice and early here, by the way. It's on the YouTube page. It's not here on Restream, but it's already a start sit. And Mojo, no start sits on a Tuesday, dude. No start sits on a Tuesday. Why? Because there's injuries that, like, all the Sunday stuff that went down, you're just going to start getting more accurate injury information. Like, you want to know about Jordan Love? Well, I don't know. You want to know about Anthony Richardson? These are all people that we need to see what happens as far as practice reports go. So let's focus on waivers. If you got a trade question, you want to sneak that in there, we'll allow a sneaky little trade question in there because maybe that's helping you maneuver for waiver wire. But waiver wire week 9, that is the focus here.
And we do a show tomorrow for preliminary lineup setting, right? From 1 to 2, we get your lineups set preliminary. And then the next day, Thursday, right before the Thursday game, once we get the inactives from 7 to 8, John and Pemba and Eric Romoff come on and make sure that your Thursday questions are answered for those lineups. And then guess what? On Sunday morning, Howard and I go live, Sirius XM, 10 to 11, where you can call in. Or if you missed that, we're here back on the YouTube channel from 11 to noon, and inactives for the 1 o'clock games come out at 11:30. So as far as us saying, hey, wait for the injury news to finalize your lineups, we're right there with you. We're going to be live with those questions, with all the information as it comes out. So tomorrow we will do lineup questions, though. Today, waivers,
indeed. Say hi to Jerry Nelson over here. He says he's in your neck of the woods. He's burning witches over in Salem right now. So
perfect time of year, my man. Perfect time of year for that. I've been over there for the Halloween thing on a number of occasions, and it never fails to be weird. Salem, Massachusetts during Halloween is a freak show.
Mile High Luke in the house. Happy Tuesday. Fatty McFat's hanging out here. Happy Waiver Wire Tuesday. And Death Wish wants to shout you out there. He won by 0.1 this week. Tillman was the superstar. Hawkinson was dropped last week. It's PPR. Would you drop Wicks or Vidal for TJ Hawkinson?
You got to, dude.
Even
though we weren't super high on him, you got to drop one of those guys for Hawk. Both of those guys are now handcuffs, really, because Vidal only got 5 carries this week, no receptions. He's clearly behind J.K. Dobbins. And Wicks fell way on the back burner here. Christian Watson playing like 50 snaps, Wicks playing less than 20. So those guys fall, man. You got to make that move. And Howard, DWR, my guy, Death Wish Rock, he's a Reddit guy. And he's like, oh, I was in the chat again. I was like, dude, change your YouTube. Unless you have a reason, change your YouTube handle to Death Wish so I know who you are. So I appreciate you making that swap. Now we know that you're rocking with us, brother. Shout out to Reddit and the gang.
There you go. Mile High Luke flexing his muscles this morning. Started off 0-8 in Scott Fishbowl. He's now 8-8.
Let's go, dude.
Right, let's do
never stop fighting, man. And because you can, in the Scott Fishbowl, that's one league that does it smart. It does the it does the points. It does a 1 win for you versus your opponent, 1 win versus you versus half the league, right? Which means you've not only beat your opponent to go 8-8, but the last 4 weeks you finished in the top half of the league. And for playoffs, they take the top couple teams and put those in the playoffs, and then everyone else is based on most points scored, and that goes like from across the league. So it's kind of like the NFL where you can have 3 teams or even 4 teams potentially from the same division. It's great. Scott Fishbowl. Scott is always innovating in that way, trying to see what works, what doesn't work.
All right. Josh Gobin in here, longtime, first-time
Josh.
Fantasy Alarm member. What's up, Josh? He also wants to know, can we please rank daily fantasy drafts? It's a format that's becoming more and more popular, and it's a different strategy than building lineups with payrolls.
Yeah, so I haven't done a ton of those like weekly ones. You know who does is Dan Malin. So if you're a fantasy member, jump in the Discord. He's doing the ones on DraftKings pretty regularly. And I also got early access to the player profiler one, Fast Draft, that's going to be starting soon. So I'll be able to give you a review on that one once I give that one a try. But right now, for the ones where you're actually like drafting a team each week, like with against other people, I think DraftKings is the best one. As far as DFS goes, we play both DraftKings and FanDuel because we like to shop those prices a little bit.
We also play on rtsports.com.
And we play RT Sports because we want to beat Howard Bender. And if you do beat Howard Bender, then even if you don't win the contest or come in the top places, you get your money back. Sometimes that works. This week, maybe not so much.
Not
Bender,
so
where
much
did
this
you where
week,
did you
huh?
finish? Where did you end up in that?
Where did I end up? Well, let me show you a little something here.
Because you were
there it is.
ready to go. You were
Nice
ready
and
to
handy
brag.
for you here. My team dragged the rest of the field there. Shout out to Renegade, O-Dog, and Johnny Blaze for coming in the top 3. I scooped a little, for a $3 entry. I scooped a little $75 profit there. Well,
There you
$72
go, dude.
profit.
Wow. Let's go. Let's do another $5 holler. Next week.
Do another $5 holler.
This week's 3, right?
I think what happened was I was giving money away to everybody for the first couple of weeks, and then the RT guys were like, "Well, let's just make this a $3 contest here and see if we can't save ourselves a couple of bucks." So, but shout out to them. We'll see if we can get another $5 one going in there. But wanted to make sure that we gave that shout out to my boys over at rtsports.com. rtsports.com/Bender. Right, that right there, that gets you to a page where you can either come immediately beat me in DFS, but if you haven't deposited over at RT Sports, do it through rtsports.com/Bender, because what they'll do is they'll give you a 50% match on your first deposit up to $500. So jump in on over there and come take me on in a little DFS.
I can't find my best ball. I can't find my weekly results.
Because you're so far down on the list. Let's go back to your boy Deathwish here, who wants to know if you like Bo Nix or Sam Darnold rest of season. His QB1 is Kyler. So if you're picking up a backup here, are you shooting for that upside of Bo Nix because he's a running quarterback, or do you stay with Sam Darnold because of the weaponry, the pocket passing, and the offensive scheme?
I think in 6-point passing, because they're very close for me, but in 6-point passing, I would stick with Sammy D because he's been great and he's getting Hawkinson back. So I wouldn't mess with it at this stage. Plus, they've already had their bye week, so it's kind of you're kind of cruising there. So I think I would just stay with it. If it was 4-point passing, then I actually would probably just say Bo Nix because I mean those extra points add up. But in 6-point passing, a guy like Sam Darnold or Kirk Cousins, those guys can hang crazy games that just win you the week. You know what I mean? A guy throws 4 touchdown passes in 6-point passing. That's 24 points before you even get to any of the yards.
Yeah. Jerry Nelson wants to remind everybody that his Cowboys suck. We already know.
We know that, Jerry. Thank you, though.
Appreciate that. Mile High Luke wants to know that. Oh, there it is. This is why points matter. Second highest point total in your pros with Joe's league, and you lost.
Oh, we lost. I didn't even read the end part yet. I haven't. I was right over here celebrating. I didn't read I didn't read past the ... Well, you know what? Those points they'll add up. Those will help us in the long run.
Rex Timotheus in the house. What's going on, dude? Let's see. On topics of schedule, as the commissioner, I set the schedule for the year for every league. For the year for every league, points always matter.
There you go. That's smart. So, how do you determine what the schedule should be?
That's
Yeah,
that's the thing. If you're doing the schedule, if you're manually entering the schedule by hand, then yes, then obviously that's going to that's going to do it, because you're probably putting like top point guy, bottom point guy, top point guy, top point guy, and you're kind of maneuvering it around there. If you're doing that, shout out to you, Rex. That's that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
Well, maybe it's not with the computers. If you just go typey.
Can I say one thing on
No,
schedules? One thing, Howard.
no. Okay, what?
One thing I really truly
Nope, changed my
dislike.
mind. All right, go ahead.
All right. One thing I really truly dislike is divisions. Unless the only time I like divisions is if the divisions are set up and are meaningful. Like, for instance, we had the SiriusXM Dynasty League, which was many teams, and you only played teams from your division, and then you played the other person in the championship, just like how the NFL works. That makes sense. If you have a league where you play everyone in your division twice, then maybe the divisions make sense. I hate the idea of like dividing the teams up and then being like, okay, well, even though 6 of the best teams are in this division, we're going to put these other teams in because I don't know, there's arbitrary divisions. I don't like divisions. It's just another layer of randomness to a game that's already random.
Yep, I agree with that 100% as well. Well, we got Nathan Southard played the highest scoring team 6 out of 14 weeks. Second highest scoring team multiples. Just goes to it's definitely. It's
you just got to play. You got to play better defense, Nathan. Defense wins championship.
Speaking of defenses, here you go. Joshua K wants to know, right? Is it time for him to drop the Jets defense and just start streaming? His options this week: the Bengals, the Falcons, the Titans, and the Saints. I don't even. Ugh.
Yeah. So the Saints actually are a good stream this week. I have them in the streaming article because they play the Panthers, and the analysis on that.
Yeah, there you go.
The analysis on that is that they play the Panthers.
That's good analysis, man.
All right, I'll give you a little more. The first
we
time,
don't need any more.
We really don't. But the first time they played, they had 4 sacks, a fumble recovery, an interception. They let up only 10 points, and they let up under 200 yards of offense. So
there you go. Saints number 1 there. Bengals going up against the Raiders. Not a terrible matchup. Titans going up against your Patriots. I'll tell you what, man, I would consider the Titans probably number 2 behind the Saints here, just because we could end up with Jacoby Brissett because of Drake May's concussion, and that definitely changes the dynamic of that offense. Takes away a lot of QB play.
My three defenses in the article are, and you guys, hanging out here, you get all these scoops from behind the paywall. Are the Saints, the Titans against the Patriots, and the Patriots against the Titans. And the Titans have actually been a good defense. They're actually 9th in DVOA, Howard, 12th against the pass, 6th against the run, but they've actually been pretty good against the pass. Like, they've just been generally good. And the reason I have them listed first in the article is that the Saints defense is actually owned in a good number of leagues. Titans defense, Yahoo, 2%, ESPN, 2%, Sleeper, 3%. So if you need a defense, the Titans are widely available. Like, if you have the 49ers as your defense and they're on bye week, sneak the Titans in there for 1 week, and then you can drop them with no qualms next week.
Yeah. Same thing with the Steelers. I've got so many shares of the Steelers D. They're going to be out this week. I'm going to have to be looking for a new one indeed. Chuck Bass in here, but he's playing jokes. He's being Mr. Funny Man. John Gruden breakdowns.
I installed that last week just to treat everybody to a little the Gruden. Gruden loves football.
Bite my bait, says Cedric Tillman is the man. We agree.
True.
Wholeheartedly.
Yep.
Deathwish says Leggett and Coke are both on his waiver wire. Seems like Deontay will be traded soon. Is it worth dropping Wicks or Pearsall for one of those guys? Wicks, yes. Pearsall, no. Like, you're gonna have Ayuk out for the rest of the season, and who knows when Juwan Jennings is back. And Juwan Jennings profiles better as like as a slot guy than he does really like working the outside.
So my breakdown of that this week, it was kind of a shame what we saw, which is basically you had Debo playing his role, and then Pearsall kind of played the Juwan Jennings role, and they had Chris Conley playing in the Brandon Ayuk role. So I think terrible. So I think what we're going to see, worst case scenario, is Conley maintains his role and Jennings takes his role back, and Pearsall ends up on the bench, which I really could not foresee happening. I think what happens is when they're trying to get Pearsall ready to play the Juwan Jennings role, And then when Juwan Jennings comes back, he'll just take over for Conley, and Conley will disappear. I think that's probably the direction we're going, which means Pearsall is going to have some value moving forward. Whereas Wicks, because the Juwan Jennings role, even when everyone's healthy, that's 60, 70% of the snaps. The fullback plays 30, 40, but it's still a decent snap share. Whereas Wicks is now a very much part-time guy if what we saw this week is going to hold. I mean, he played like 17% of the snaps, something like
that. Gotcha. What's up, Angie? Shout it out. My son Darnell says hello.
Angie rocks.
I've decided that if I do end up having a kid, somehow, if I hit it so big, Coop, that I can get rid of my wife and bring in like a nice 18-year-old wife who's like totally into my personality and my body.
Of course.
But if we do end up having a kid, I'm gonna name it Darnell in honor of Darnell Mooney.
He's a moon boy, a Mooney boy.
See? Oh, you inspired me.
A space soldier. Yeah, hit that
Mojo. First year playing fantasy. Well, there you go. I didn't realize it was your first year playing fantasy. You're asking questions and hanging out in the chat like you're a seasoned pro. So welcome to your first year of fantasy. Super psyched about that. Yeah. All right.
Thanks for popping in, Mojo. You rock.
Hell yeah. What else do we got here? Huh? Bite My Bait says 12-man Superflex traded Neighbors and Chubb for Stevenson and Stafford.
I mean, in Superflex, anytime you can get a quarterback, that rules.
So if you need a quarterback.
If you need a quarterback, of course.
Yeah. If you were just looking to upgrade at quarterback, then I have an issue with that, right? Because now you're giving, is Stafford your third QB? Was he better than your second QB? That's the question that I want to know before I can weigh in on.
Let's say he was starting Chubb at the flex and Neighbors in his super flex. Would you rather have Stevenson in the lineup and Stafford in the super flex?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're not using another quarterback in a super flex, I have a hard time believing that a guy who's 6-2 and is in second place is not already rocking it at the QB position.
I also worry sometimes with those trades, Howard, because Matthew Stafford is probably the third QB of the guy you traded with. So you just took a guy off his bench and gave him Malik
two starters.
Yeah. So I don't know. Be careful with those trades. And talking about Matt Stafford, probably a good time to just hit on quarterbacks real quick, Howard.
Let's do it. Let's talk about it. Who's available? Who do you like? Who's in the article?
Yeah. So number one in the just a regular flat out waivers article, it's got to be Bo Nix. It's got to be Bo Nix the way he's playing, because early in the season he was turning the ball over. He was running, and he didn't throw a touchdown over the first 3 weeks, but he was running enough for us to put him on the stashes radar. And then once he started throwing a couple touchdown passes, he threw one, then he threw two in back-to-back games. Now he's throwing multiple touchdown passes in 3 out of 4 games. If he's throwing one touchdown pass a game and also running 5, 6, 7 times, that's basically what Kyler Murray is. The possibility of running for 50 yards and a touchdown and getting 11 points that way, it doesn't even matter as long as you're throwing one touchdown pass. That's 20 points right there. You know what I mean? So for me, Bo Nix has to be added. The next highest one is Matt Stafford. He was dropped in a lot of leagues. People didn't know that Puka and Cooper Kupp were going to play. Everyone was so busy, dumping guys from their roster to activate Puka Nacua, that nobody kind of turned around and stuck Stafford on the bench before that game started. Then he threw 4 touchdown passes, so you got to go for a guy like that. For streamers, Bo Nix against the Ravens. The Ravens letting up most yards of any team right now in the pass game. Jameis Winston is always a streaming option, though against the Chargers he's kind of tough. And then in those deeper leagues, the super flex leagues, or if you just need 1 week, keep an eye on what's going on with Jordan Love and what's going on with Anthony Richardson. If those guys are benched, Malik Willis would get Detroit, and Malik Willis has looked good, and Joe Flacco would get the Eagles, and Joe Flacco has looked better than Anthony Richardson. If he does get benched, I mean, we'll have to see. But those are just names to keep an eye on there. For stashes, I'm stashing Drake May with the concussion. And honestly, as crazy as it sounds, Howard, and I know you may have given up, but Will Levis has an incredible schedule for passing down the stretch if he can get healthy and come back. And we just saw a little bit of life out of Calvin Ridley. This is the schedule down the stretch for this team: Washington, Jacksonville, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Jacksonville again. So if he can get right and come back, there's a possibility where this guy, it's not like he was really, truly terrible. he basically had played 3 games. In one of those games, he threw for 260 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then he hurt his shoulder and tried to play through it and looked terrible playing through an injured shoulder. But, like, it's not like he was going out there healthy and throwing for 75 yards. The guy was hurt. So I think there's
No,
a
but
real
beginning of the season, like my concern with Will Levis is, preseason is one thing, practice is one thing, actual game is something else. And like, you can't tell me that, you're working on your accuracy the entire time in the preseason and everybody's touting your, 83% completion rate, during the preseason. And then you come in and, you're throwing like, you're going 7 for 18 right in the first half of the game. Like that doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, well, against the Jets, 84% passer rating against the Packers. The Packers game was good.
84% passer rating. That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine.
No,
92,
it's really not fun.
92 against the Packers. 92 against the Packers. I mean, like, he came out 260 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Packers. That's what I'm looking at. These defenses are worse than the Packers, every single one of them.
Yeah. Which is why they're going to end up like it's why you want to add Tony Pollard.
Add Mason Rudolph.
No, I can't do the Mason Rudolph thing.
I know. We'll have it's a stash. It's a deep stash for people, like, especially in super flex leagues like that where he might have been dropped. We're talking the deep of the deep in the stashes article.
Couple of quarterbacks you didn't name. Just quick question here, because obviously one of the things that we always kind of forget about is that because the leagues that we play in and the leagues that a lot of you who are watching us, like the Scott Fish Bowl and some of these Warrior Bowl and the Pros with Joes and all the competitive stuff there, waiver wire looks a little bleak. But then there are a lot of you out there who play in 10-team leagues and are possibly in need. Brock Purdy sitting on the on the bye week this week. So where do you go from there? We give you Knicks, we give you Winston. What about a guy like Russell Wilson? Not this week because he's on a bye week, but you got guys like Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert. They're all sitting there on people's waiver wires right now. Where are you at with those guys?
Yeah, so usually I always include one of those guys in the article. I look around at like somebody that's 40% rostered or so. Over 50% is kind of tough because now we're talking like Tua. You know what I mean? Like if Tua's out there, then grab him, but he's rostered in most leagues. But of that group that's under 50% owned, but owned at least 40%. So Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford. Stafford is the guy that I picked. But if Stafford's not there, absolutely those guys are viable. Trevor Lawrence, all his wide receivers just got hurt. That's why we're kind of scared there. But a guy like Aaron Rodgers going up against Houston here, back against the ropes, yeah, why not?
All right. So there you go. Some quarterbacks there. Do you want to touch on some running backs real quick here? Because running back, again, the position this week, just like it was last week, not really sitting there with a lot of guys who are out and available for you. It's a lot of stashing. It's a lot of desperate looking players.
Right, exactly. People are going to be on Isaac Guerendo, which normally we would be. Normally we would be on this guy. Anytime you get an opportunity to potentially start a guy for the 49ers, you go and spend up and grab that guy just to start him for one game because we're trying to accumulate points. But they go on bye week this week, and the odds are pretty good that one of Jordan Mason or Christian McCaffrey will be ready to go, 14 days from now or 10 days from now, whatever it is. So for me, I'm not going crazy on Guerendo. You got to maybe sprinkle a little bit on there. For streamers, Tyler Algiers always on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Bijan, technically Bijan is the third most snaps of any running back this year, but at the Algier, they always get him a couple touches. And the matchup this week against Dallas, I think they both can be good starts. Justice Hill in full PPR doesn't get a ton of carries, but he quietly plays like 50% of the snaps. He's only had one game with less than 35%. He plays like all the pass downs. It's just not conducive to passing, but he's gotten at least a reception in every single game. So there's a semblance of the floor there. Antonio Gibson taking a little bit of a back seat because he got nicked up a little bit. But even then, he got 5 carries this week. He got a carry in the red zone. So he's always on the table. And then stashes is where you really want to clean things up this week. The top one for me is Blake Corum. Number one, because Kyron Williams has played 86% of the snaps on average for that team. The next highest is Jonathan Taylor. When healthy, he's played 77%. There are only 7 players over 70%. Kyron Williams is at 86. Only player over 80. If he goes down, Sean McVay should put in Blake Corum. So he's number one. Number 2 stash for me right now is Trey Benson. We don't know he's going to get if he would get the full gig. Amari DiMercado could mix in, but the upside is so tantalizing of a guy that was a second running back drafted, right? And Jonathan Brooks is rostered everywhere. He's behind a guy, James Conner, that's missed time every single year. And the schedule down the stretch for the Cardinals, if something does happen to James Conner, is the Patriots, the Panthers, and the Rams. So super conducive to rushing. After that, we just look around and say, okay, J.K. Dobbins, no, like we're all rooting for him to stay healthy and hopefully be in the consideration for comeback player of the year. This guy's gotten hurt with serious injuries multiple times. So you have to look and see what happens if he goes down. Gus Edwards is out. Kamani Vidal could be an option. Ray Davis is on the radar. Braylon Allen's on the radar, but those guys are rostered in a lot of leagues. And then if you have an IR spot open, which is hard to believe at this stage, but Keaton Mitchell or Marshawn Lloyd. That's it. That's as deep as we're going.
That's pretty deep as far as the running back position goes. So we're good with that. We got a little bit of breaking news going on right now here. 2 items. Number 1, Joe Flacco named starter over Anthony Richardson this week.
Boom. Say Stash's article already hidden. What's up?
There it is. Wheels up for Josh Downs again here also, right?
Streamer's article, actually. Yeah, Josh Downs. Josh Downs actually, the thing about Josh Downs is we look at it, we're like, oh, wow, he got, 8 targets or whatever, but he got most of his points off that one monster.
Yeah, I don't care. It's Joe Flacco under center now. It's a significantly better passer than Anthony Richardson.
So back. Michael Pittman's back.
The other bit of breaking news here, not such great news. Here you go. Stephon Diggs diagnosed. It is a torn ACL. He is done for the year.
Damn. Okay. So now the guessing game is this. Tank Dell is going to be out there for every snap. That's how they did it when Diggs went down. Xavier Hutchinson is playing the Nico Collins role, which Nico Collins will take back when he gets back. The options are go with the veteran in Robert Woods, or John Mechie actually stepped in and played a good chunk of the second half of the game when Stephon Diggs went down. As far as upside and fun go, it'd be fun if John Mechie got a full role, but you know how these teams do it sometimes. Sometimes they just tap the veteran and go Robert Woods. So that's the game. It's Robert Woods versus John Mechie until Nico gets back.
Right. Okay. So Tank Dell, Xavier Hutchinson, your 2 guys in any kind of 2 receiver set, which they run a ton of in Houston. And then beyond that, it's Robert Woods and John Mechie to take a look at. Very temporary people.
Temporary boost to Dalton Schultz until Nico gets back. But you got to remember last year when Nico and Tank were both healthy, he was getting 4.2 targets per game, Dalton Schultz was. When one of them was out, though, he was averaging 7 targets a game. So for as long as Nico is out, Dalton Schultz probably is back in that 5, 6, 7 target range and feeling streamy.
I hope so. Wow, this is going to be kind of interesting now because this is now 2 straight weeks where you've had a major wide receiver injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
We lost Chris Godwin. We lost Mike Evans. We lost DK Metcalf last week. Now we're losing
Brandon Ayuk.
We're losing Stephon Diggs, right? All of a sudden now, say hello to Parker Washington. Let's just hit wide receiver right now. Guys, we'll get back to the chat in a little bit here. I think this is, it's a little bit of a priority. Let's talk about where we're at with the wide receiver position. Who do we like as far as players that we're eyeballing right now? And who are we? I don't even know, man.
Yeah.
Parker Washington, because of what's going on in Jacksonville. I'd say Tyler Boyd in Tennessee. Now that DeAndre Hopkins isn't there, we saw his target share increase, even though he couldn't catch a touchdown pass to save his life this past week. Where else?
Yeah. So for my top ads in the 40 to 50% range, the number 1 guy for me is still Jalen McMillan. He actually played a full-time role. The thing is, he didn't get the full Chris Godwin role, Howard. They had him playing outside. So they had Trey Palmer in Mike Evans' job, and they had Jalen McMillan playing a full-time outside role, and then they brought Sterling Shepard in for 3 wide receiver snaps, and then Sterling Shepard went back out. So they kind of set it up the way the Bengals used to do it with T. Higgins and Chase on the outside and Boyd in the slot, and then Boyd comes out for the extra tight ends or whatever. But Jalen McMillan is playing every snap, and he got some decent targets, so we like him best. In the 30 to 20% range, actually well below 20% on a lot of sites, Cedric Tillman. Nobody was really adding him, luckily for us. this is where you go spend up. He clearly has a connection with Jameis Winston. They gave him the full Amari Cooper role. We're looking good there. In the deeper ads range, I actually like Mason Tipton. Again, we have to see what happens with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, whether he can actually like carve out any sort of role or not. But Mason Tipton, basically what we have is it was Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. Those are the two guys. They used a lot of tight ends and fullbacks. So we didn't have a third guy. When they both got hurt, Bub Means played Chris Olave's job. Mason Tipton played Rashid Shaheed's job. Well, when Chris Olave got back, Bub Means took a lesser role. Chris Olave played 56 snaps. Mason Tipton played 52. And then Bub Means actually suffered a high ankle sprain, so he's completely off the radar. And Derek Carr is expected back this week. So I'm looking to add Mason Tipton. He's rostered like less than 5% of leagues on all platforms. I'm looking to grab him and just see what it looks like with Derek Carr. There was some steam for this guy before. If you're just looking for a 1 week streamer, you got Jalen Tolbert versus Atlanta. Again, they went so heavy on CeeDee Lamb this week that he didn't really do much, but Lamb's going to get AJ Terrell. Rashad Bateman versus Denver. Zay Flowers could see a lot of Patrick Surtain. Trey Tucker versus Cincinnati. Trey Tucker last 3 weeks, Howard, 95%, 91% of the snaps. He's getting targets. He's gotten the carry in each of the last 2 games as well. And then if T. Higgins is out again, Yoshi's on the radar, right? For deep league stashes, we're still keeping an eye on Jalen Polk. Noah Brown actually picked up, he got all of his points on that Hail Mary, but he actually played 81% of the snaps and got 5 targets before the Hail Mary. So kind of like that. Troy Franklin, we're keeping an eye on as well with Denver, hoping someone can emerge over there, though there's been some rumors. Mile High Luke was dropping some rumors in the Discord about a possible Deontay Johnson trade over there. And then if you check the article, there's we do a bunch of honorable mentions and it goes even deeper than that. But those are the guys keeping my eyeballs on.
All right, look at that. Did you say anything about Keon Coleman? Did we talk about? I know we talked about him on the show yesterday on Sirius XM. And Coop, by the way, will be with me this entire week except for Thursday.
Halloween with the kiddos.
Thursday, he's going and he's getting me a pillowcase of candy and he's sending it to me because that's what I need right now.
Yeah,
because I got to eat my feelings.
I actually did the write up for Keon Coleman. And then I went and saw, and before I checked how many leagues he was rostered in, and he's rostered in like 70% of leagues.
Is he really?
Yeah, on Yahoo at least. On Yahoo he's like 69%. On Sleeper he's like nobody dropped him, I guess. So it's
okay.
Sorry, he's 42% on Yahoo. That was the one where he's actually below 50. But on ESPN and Sleeper, it's like so high that I usually don't put those guys in the article unless like 2 out of 3 they're below 50. But yeah, Keon Coleman, if he's out there, definitely I put him with Cedric Tillman as like the top 2 ads.
Yeah.
Even above Jalen McMillan with the role change.
All right. Well, now let's hit some chat here. Right, we've talked a ton of tight ends in the past. I don't know, 36 hours. So let's we'll hold off on some tight end stuff. Go check out Coop's articles over at fantasyalarm.com. Do yourself a favor. Get on over there. If you don't subscribe, then here you go. We're gonna sneak this one in one more time, right? Because I know that they didn't turn it off.
I just hit refresh. It's still going now.
Fantasyalarm.com/year or zap this promo code. Use the promo code year. It'll take $50 off of the annual subscription, which basically turns your monthly fee to less than $20. And that includes everything that we do, all sports, season long, DFS, betting, all, full access to all of us in our Discord, and draft guides, cheat sheets, the works, all at your feet. Make it happen. Make it happen. Beep, boop, 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 beep, beep, boop. Telling you. All right, now we'll get back to the chat. I'm done shilling product.
I mean, it's just you get all this information. You don't even have to like come back and watch the show again, because I rapid fire through it on here. You can go in and read all the rationale. I spent all day. I sent in one of the articles at midnight last night, woke up this morning, finished the other 2. Like these things are loaded with info.
I remember those days when I just pulled all-nighters, work a bar shift, get home 2:00 in the morning, just start writing articles. Well, getting like 2 hours of sleep, getting up the next day and doing it all over again.
I would have been done at 10 if it wasn't for Jim Bowden and his fancy World Series.
No, we're not even speaking of that. Paula Monique in the house says she's got a super short bench. Is Dak droppable? She's got Mahomes already. Also, should I hold on to ETN? You should definitely hold on to ETN. Even though it's a short bench, see what happens because he's been banged up, right? He's been dealing with like nagging injuries since week 2. So I would, just kind of hold tight and see. Dak, I think if I've got Mahomes, I don't need Dak.
Right. The important question for drops is not who else is on your team in most cases. It's who else is on the wire, especially at quarterback. Like, Paul, go check your wire. If Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford and Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence and Bo Nix and guys like that are on the wire, then go ahead and drop Dak because there's plenty of similar guys to Dak floating around, right? Like if yours is a league where everyone has 2 quarterbacks and the best quarterback on the wire is like Gardner Minshew, then maybe you got to hold on to the 2 QBs because that's what everyone does. So the best indication of who is droppable and who's not is actually who is currently sitting on your wire.
Matt C wants to know, his friend offered him Kenneth Walker for Bigsby and Swift. Is this trade even?
I think if you don't, I mean, if you're not starting both Bigsby and Swift every week, then I do that trade because Kenneth Walker is awesome, and this down week is a perfect time to buy him.
There you go.
Because I think he's much better than those guys.
Love this one. Your mom is so ugly. She went to a haunted house, came out with a job application.
That is a good one, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Let's see. Been trying to live up to my every week viewing and Best Ball on Call.
Appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, again, it's like not everybody, has to buy a subscription. You can help. You can support us by liking, subscribing. That costs you nothing.
Yeah,
retweeting a tweet.
Hit the subscribe button here on YouTube for sure.
It's huge. It means a lot to us. It really does. It's more candy for little Laney and more candy for little Howard.
Tiny little baby Howard.
Tiny baby
nestled in a little blanket, eating his Halloween candy.
Yeah, that's the like button goes a long way towards that.
Nathan says Jacoby Myers waiver wire and drop Tank Dell. Hell no, not with the news now.
No, Tank Dell rules.
Tank Dell definitely rules right now. He is
better be getting over
Stroud's only good target.
And when we were talking last year, everyone was saying Tony Pollard after the high ankle surgery didn't feel right until week 10, week 11. Well, guess what? Week 10 and week 11 are coming around, and Mark Andrews is starting to look like Mark Andrews again. Like maybe Tank Dell starts looking like Tank Dell down the stretch here again.
Boom. Daz says he's got Tua, drop Geno, Mayfield, or Prescott available. Mayfield a week 11 bye. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Mayfield proved me wrong. I was like, Mayfield, he doesn't have any wide receivers to throw to. I guess he could just throw to anybody. Just K-Dot and whoever's left. So Mayfield's still good. I think Geno's still good too, though. So kind of a lateral move.
No, I mean, he's saying that he's got Tua. Would Mayfield be better than Tua, I think. He dropped Geno already to pick up Tua.
Nah, I'm sticking with Tua, man.
I'm sticking with Tua as well.
Tyreek Hill is going to start scoring ridiculous touchdowns soon, and Tua gets all those points.
Paraiko says trade Njoku for Russ or Carr plus Komet in a Superflex league. I mean, he's got Ferguson right now. Oh, he just lost Anthony Richardson. He's got Winston and Daniels. I tell you, if you've already got Ferguson, I think if Njoku nets you Russell Wilson, why are you clicking it off? What are you doing over there? Leave the tech alone, kid.
It was an accident. I got stuck thinking about his username. Is that a Colton Pareko based hockey username? My brain got rattled with that. I bet it is. Okay, cool. Let's focus. No more hockey. Let us know in the chat.
Jingling keys in front of you, kid.
I saw the it looks like a Stanley Cup as his thing, and then I saw the Pareko and my brain just got hockey wiped. But let me know if that's a hockey name. All right, trade Njoku for Russ or Carr plus Komet. No, I don't want Komet at all.
But he's already got Ferguson.
Well, then why do you even want Komet? Don't even include Komet in the deal. Get someone else in that deal. If you can get someone else that matters at all in the deal that's not Cole Komet, then do it.
There you go. Beautiful. Beautiful. Finished 14th, number 1 across. Oh, lots to do. Oh, you're just bragging? I thought it was an actual question here. Let
Still
me
rocks
find some
though.
questions here.
Still rocks
Couple of
though.
good mornings. Bender sounding pretty confident this week. I feel pretty confident this
Greg
week.
says, "Hail to the Commanders."
Pick up Ridley and drop Christian Watson. Yes or no?
So Christian Watson just got a massive snap share, but Ridley just got peppered with targets. I think you got to go Ridley over Watson.
Agreed. Need to drop 2 guys from Justice Hill, Jalen Warren, Shepard, Juju. What do you? Oh, handsome fellas. Hello.
Oh, that's how you get your question answered. Don't mind if I do. I'm holding on to Jalen Warren of those guys. So if you're dropping one of the running backs, it's Justice Hill, and then I would probably drop Shepard because none of DeAndre Hopkins or any of these guys really played any slot snaps. I think Juju could still carve out some slot work. So I would drop Hill and Shepard if that were my team.
Hill and Shepard? Yes, I would agree with that statement there for sure.
Juju.
Boom. Got CMC. What's up, Arrow Chill? CMC, Mixon, Jones, Connor, and Lamb, Debo. Got a trade for Debo and Connor for A.J. Brown. So he's getting CMC back. He's already got still Mixon and Aaron Jones. His starting wide receivers would end up going from Lamb, Debo, Olave to Lamb, Brown, and Olave. Is that enough of a boost for you here, Coop?
No, I don't think so, honestly, because Aaron Jones is CMC Mixon. Aaron Jones is about James Conner is about the 4 most injury-prone dudes you can throw into a single team. And James Conner has great playoff schedule, as we talked about. Like, I would just rather have the odds of one of those running backs getting banged up over the next half of a season is pretty good. I would just hang with what you got. Plus Debo, obviously I like AJ Brown better than Debo, but Debo's still awesome. No.
I don't see the need for this deal. I mean, unless you're super confident in the fact that CMC comes back and he's a full go and ready to be healthy. We've already talked about the fact that Connor's got a really sweet schedule for the playoff run.
Right.
And I just, you know what it is, man? I mean, I love AJ Brown, but is there that much of a leap from AJ Brown to Debo or Debo to AJ Brown that it's worth giving up a running back like James Conner?
And also, yeah, exactly. Think about you're helping this guy out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like you might be helping whoever. Always keep an eye on who you're helping, because you could just hang on to the depth and let that guy struggle. And then you play that guy in the championship and you have James Conner against the Rams and you start him.
There you go. I don't want to put this up, but I'm going to put this up only just to say that you've officially been banned. You've been blocked mentally. Like, you won't see any kind of notification, Greg, but you've been blocked mentally from me.
We still see you here in Boston, Greg. We still see you. Please don't antagonize the host, though, if you can avoid it.
If you guys had to guess, what's up, Eric? If you had to
you can avoid
don't poke the bear in the zoo, Greg. What are you doing?
If you can avoid it.
Right, you pick against the Commanders for a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden he's like,
right?
Yeah, get you, Spike. Kick him. Where does Deontay Johnson end up? Now we're guessing the Texans. That's what Eric says. Did the Texans make that move to add Deontay Johnson? I mean, that would definitely... It would replace Stephon Diggs and probably be better in the locker room too.
Yeah, it's like the exact kind of guy you need. You need that mid-range, short to mid-range separation guy. And Deontay Johnson, say what you will about drops or whatever, separation has never been a problem for this guy. That's why he gets so many targets. He is always getting space.
Another defense question, Philly, Cincy, or Chicago this week. We already talked about the fact Cincy's playing the Raiders, I believe. So it's a decent matchup for them. I think that's fine for them. Philadelphia hosting the Jags. Ooh, they have no wide receivers. That might help. Mm-hmm. Chicago taking on
Cardinals.
Cardinals on the road.
In Arizona.
I think Philly's the team that I would target here against the Jags.
Yep. Philly's who I'd go with. And just in case anybody was looking, the that Chicago Arizona game in the air conditioned dome, both of those kickers are on waiver wires in like 70-80% of leagues. Cairo Santos and Chad Ryland. And I think if you're looking for a streaming kicker, that could be a good matchup for it. Linda usually tries to target those dome games, especially when it starts getting cold, and that could be a high scoring game.
All right. Need a streamer waiver wire. Parker Washington. Someone needs to catch Lawrence's passes. That is definitely a worthwhile streamer. Who are your other favorite streamers this week, Coop?
I definitely did not click out of the show sheet. I would never have done that.
Why would you possibly do that? That would be crazy.
That would be crazy. Of course, I didn't do that. I definitely wasn't Googling.
Jalen Tolbert, Rashad Bateman, Trey Tucker,
Mason
Tipton,
Andre Yoshivas if T. Higgins is out. See, dude, no problem.
Yeah, no sweat. There you go.
Not a problem.
Jerry wants to know, pick up Stafford and drop Caleb Williams. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nakua.
Caleb Williams let me down so bad. But
he let everybody down.
But this is such a good matchup. Like, would you start Caleb Williams against the Cardinals this week, or would you start Stafford against the Seahawks in rainy Seattle town?
Well, yeah, you got to check. I would definitely want to see that weather again, because that was a little on the abusive side, or at least for Kenneth Walker, who was apparently melting on the sidelines like the Wicked Witch of the West.
It's that rain shadow effect. I actually straight up said to John on Sunday morning, Howard, on the live stream, I said, these guys are football players. They're not going to melt. Kenneth Walker did. Kenneth Walker did melt. It was more,
brutal.
Yeah, I think you start Caleb Williams. Man. Go with Stafford. He's already had his bye week.
Go with Stafford.
They both have already had their bye week. I don't know, Howard. Who would you go with? I gotta ask John and Pemba this one.
Because I'm looking at it from a long-term standpoint here. And while Caleb Williams, if this is just a regular redraft league, Stafford with Kupp and Nakua on the field, immediately better. Like, I love DJ Moore. I like Keenan Allen. Romo Dunze, I'm actually looking at utilizing Romo Dunze as like a DFS paydown this week, against Arizona. But, I mean, Stafford having Kupp and Puka Nakua, you don't even worry about the protection from the offensive line, because one of those guys is running a short route and one of those guys is running a longer route. Like, that's it. You've got one down below and you got one further out. And that's always going to happen like that.
Jerry, if you could find a way to have both players on your roster, if we look ahead, week 16, Stafford plays the 49ers, but Caleb Williams gets the Lions, which is a great matchup. And then the following week, Stafford gets the Cardinals. So if you could find a way to hold on to both guys, like down the stretch, it's obvious who to start and who not to start. And they actually kind of line up pretty well. I know it's not entirely possible, but I mean, I guess the thing is Stafford's playoff matchups, the Cardinals are his championship ones, but he gets the Jets and the 49ers 2 weeks before that.
49ers secondaries, I mean, they've sucked in the second half. They're not making the right adjustments. Hufanga being out injured as their free safety, or their strong safety, has been a huge problem. Charvarius Ward also doesn't stay particularly healthy. I'm not as worried about them. And then, obviously we just saw what Jacoby Brissett did to the Jets, so they suck.
Stafford it is. There it is.
Anytime I can drag the Jets into conversation, that's where we're at.
I think we're in rapid fire territory here.
All right, let's do it. What are your thoughts on Sutton this past weekend? He seemed to be back to his normal target-heavy role. I'm forced to play him this week, losing all those guys. Where are you at with it?
Sutton, I mean, he was already the only guy on the team playing a big role and getting decent targets. It was just early in the year, he was getting targets too. He just wasn't catching them. Like, Bo Nix is playing better. Sutton is a good play.
Boom. I got Murray and Mayfield both on a bye in week 11. Nix is available. It appears Mayfield has a better matchup than Murray this week. However, which one would you drop for Nix?
If I'm playing that game, I'm going with Murray and Nix and just go leaning into mobile upside.
There you go. Love it. Anyone have thoughts on Raheem Jarrett of the Bucks?
No. I just don't think. I think when Mike Evans comes back, there's only room for one because Cade Otton is going to do his thing. There's only room for one other pass catcher, and Raheem Jarrett's not going to leapfrog Trey Palmer and Jalen McMillan. I think that at the end of the day, the guys we're going to want to have are Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan, and Cade Otton.
Yeah,
they're not going to have four fantasy relevant pass catchers. Nobody does.
All right. There's a question from Rex about the Texans receivers, which we covered. We think it's Tank Dell and Xavier Hutchinson on the field in 2 receiver sets. And then once you bring in the 3rd receiver, it's likely going to be Robert Woods, but John Mechie could end up being sprinkled in there for sure.
Eventually, it will be Nico and Tank Dell, though. So Nico, Tank Dell, and Dalton Schultz. So it doesn't matter again.
Plug and play. Who should I pick up for next week? Shakir, Keon, Wandell, Cedric, Ridley, or waiver options? Need upside. All right. Well, so Cedric Tillman right off the bat is number 1 for me. And then Keon Coleman handles some deep work also. That's number 2 for me. From Keon
Coleman gets Miami and then Indy, whereas Cedric Tillman gets the Chargers and then a bye week.
Oh, I'm ignoring him.
That's right.
Connor's DeMercado.
It's
now I gotta get him off the screen.
DeMercado would just play on pass downs. So Benson is the guy I want.
Benson is the guy you want. Yes. Deontay Johnson to Houston. There's a lot of wish casting going on here in the chat today. Look at that.
They're excited about Flacco. I like that.
Tracy on a concussion. Now we're hitting the breaking news part here. Oh, there we go. Hoosier Davis.
Depends. You need to have another tight end. I think it's reasonably fair, but I would rather have Pitts in a vacuum. So, but if you have another tight end, then that's fair.
There you go. Any interest in Nick Westbrook-Akine?
I mean, he's playing a big chunk of snaps, but no. He played more snaps than Calvin Ridley. He played like 70 snaps, but he was doing that all last year and doing nothing too. Like he's just Nick Westbrook-Akine is Justin Watson. If Demir Bird, you know what I mean? Like they're just out there to block. Don't worry about him.
More talk here. Another same one there.
See the Twitch gang popping in.
Here we go. There's a question. My main 3 wide receivers drafted on one team are Godwin, DK, and Diggs. Hutch over Mechie. Shep over Palmer. Where are you at?
Don't go Hutch because Hutch is going back on the bench when Nico gets back. Palmer, same thing. Palmer is playing Mike Evans's role and probably goes back to the bench. So it's Mechie and Shep if you're looking for upside.
All right. Paul Monique says one more. Drafted Rome Odunze in redraft. You think he'll pop again this year? Should I hold, trade, or move on?
I mean, if you could trade him, I would in redraft. And again, it's like he needs, like you see what happens with the Texans. You see what happens with the with the Bucks, with DK Metcalf going down with the Seahawks. He needs one injury. And then he's back to popping. But for now, he's the 3rd fiddle behind Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. Just so happens one of those 2 guys, Keenan Allen, is regularly hurt all the time. And his shoulder is absolutely disgusting.
Dust Delicious wants to know, Kamara for Nico straight up or Achane and Andrews for Hawkinson for Nico? I mean, you're fishing for Nico here. What are you going to give up?
I would just keep Kamara and Achane and win my league.
I agree.
If you really are loaded at running back, I would trade Kamara for Nico.
What order do I waiver for Diggs? Tillman, Worthy, Coleman, McConkey, or Sutton? Didn't even talk McConkey, talk Badonkadonk.
Badonkadonk is 1. He's just rostered in too many leagues to be mentioned. Okay. McConkey is number 1, followed by Sutton, followed by Tillman, Coleman, Worthy. That's the order.
Wow, putting Sutton all the way up there now, huh?
He's on pace for like 150 targets.
All right.
Target
Rank
report
these
coming
defenses.
out tomorrow.
Tennessee, New England, Cincinnati, Philadelphia. Rank them, Coop.
Philly is the team I'm starting, but they're rostered in a ton of leagues. I'm starting Philly against Jacksonville without all the wide receivers hurt. It's Philly, Cincy, Tennessee, New England. But Tennessee and New England are out there in every league. So
All right, let's see. Took your advice. Moved Odunze, Jacoby, and Bucky for Kenneth Walker. They're my thoughts.
It'll start paying off. Kenneth Walker hit one down week will not make Kenneth Walker.
Yeah. Can't worry about what just happened 1 week. Yeah. Just lost Diggs. Trade Kamara for Monty and Ridley. Oh, Twitch gang. Oh,
you got glasses.
I got to swap it out here. Right? I tore my contact lens today, everybody. So glasses
Diggs.
Only. Now I can't see anything. What do you got, Coop?
Trade Kamara for Monty and Ridley. I mean, I don't love that Ridley's the wide receiver. I actually wouldn't do that. I would try and get better. But if that's the best deal out there and your wide receivers are really bad, then I would do it. Because Monty's still good, but Kamara is just awesome.
All right. One more, and then we got to get on out of here. We'll make it a doozy. Numma wants to know, needing running back upgrade, looking at Gibbs. Who can I offer out of this crew here? Lamb, Cup, Higgins, Dell, Worthy, Hopkins, Coleman. Running backs, Hubbard, H.N., Chubb,
Higgins.
He wants Cup and Higgins. I'm definitely not doing Cup and Higgins for Gibbs.
Tell him to take a lap, bro. I would do Dell and Hopkins.
There you go.
I would do Dell and Hopkins. I would even consider Higgins and Dell.
But I would do Dell and Coleman. Try that one too.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe even Higgins and Dell. But I'm not giving up Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp for Gibbs straight up is probably closer to what's realistic.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, thanks. If we didn't get to your question, well, listen, you know how accessible we are. I don't have to tell anybody, right? At Coupe Fiasco, at Roto Buzz Guy. We're in our Discord over at Fantasy Alarm. If you want to subscribe, let me pop that QR code up here one more time. Take advantage of it while you can. No, not that one, Coop. This one right here. FantasyAlarm.com/year, promo code year. Takes $50 off. Can you get your finger out of my face? I know you're not touching you. Not touching you. Not touching you.
You here, there.
As always, please drop us a like and subscribe over at YouTube. We thank you all. We will be back tomorrow, same time, 1 p.m. Eastern, giving you all your waiver wire wrap-ups, your start sits, everything else that you could possibly want. And we'll probably end up with some more breaking news with the way everything's flying around the NFL. So thank you all very much for being here. For Andrew Cooper, I'm Howard Bender. This has been Alarm Fantasy Football. Do you have a question, Coop? Or are you just getting ready to finger